our range of furnished to meet with your royal preference. Surrounded by scenic beauty, our tropical setting allows you to escape the glamorous ordeal of city life. Our ambient green gardens will guide you to a place of revitalizing rest. The 3-star restaurant caters to your palate, serving your choice menu ranging from exotic cuisines to local delicacies. Our chefs will serve you full-course meals for a truly out-of-this-world culinary experience. Our fully stocked bar to whet your throat, from renowned global brand whisks, brandies, gins, beers and wines to our locally celebrated beverages, you will not lack for any brewage. It's an all-new experience in the East at Seasun Hotel. So visit today at Plot 15 to 19 Spire Road, Ginger, or contact us on +256 751 719 960 and +256 785 354 614 for reservations. Seasun Hotels, luxury redefined. SMART24, driving business.
We're back. Thank you very much, listeners and viewers. This is Fiona Wall with the Fidelis Leadership Institute hosting a Fast Talk, Faithful, Available, Teachable, with Simon Kasiate, the corporate communications head, director, KCCA, and the power of storytelling. He's already told us a fantastic story about a young boy growing up in the suburbs of the city, experiencing urban poverty, and rising to the man that he is right now, to this multimedia mogul that has worked everywhere in every brand that you can think of. And it's taken grit, it's taken ethics, it's taken consistency, discipline. It's been rough, but I think it's been worth it. And that's why at the Fidelis Leadership Institute, we are here saying, speak to us. And that's why SMART24 TV is here saying, we need to listen to you. So Simon, going back to the issue, you are still telling us what you think can help Africa pull herself up by the bootstraps and get out of this mire that we're in. You spoke about other nations and how they've been different because their leaders had, a clarity of purpose and had that determination to implement whatever they set out to do without fear or favor. I think you said many words around that. I'd love you to say again.
Ill will or affection.
So we can start. Without ill will or affection and across the board. So there was fairness, there was a bit of, justice and equity in the way they were implementing things.
And there's zero tolerance to mediocrity.
Yes, I was going to say it also takes a price. Zero tolerance to mediocrity. I have seen, for instance, just in my country, you get to the bank and no one wants to line up. People want to break traffic rules and just pay the cops off. So I think if Uganda, if we were to have zero tolerance, I think a lot of people would end up in jail, and then maybe would call people tyrants. But I think that a level of discipline is needed in order for anybody to join. I think discipline is that bridge that joins your dreams to the realization of them. So any thoughts on how we can get there without necessarily breaking the ordinary man's back?
The ordinary man's back will have to break, unfortunately. And this I say at the risk of sounding callous.
It's at the risk of sounding... so would you say that a dose of dictatorship is needed?
To the greatest extent, if we must move away from our comfort zone.
Yes.
Because I meet this every day in administering my duties as a spokesperson of Kampala Capital City Authority. It rains for 45 minutes and this city floods for 3 hours. And there's cry and hue on Twitter, now called X and other platforms. What the hell, pardon my French, is KCCA doing? Why do we have narrow water trenches and things like that? Why is the city flooding? They are doing nothing at City Hall. These corrupt, ignorant space fillers at City Hall. Fiona, it's the individual actions of you and I, and these I see on Twitter Spaces, listening ardently, getting a plastic bottle and throwing it out of the window into the, picking rubbish and sending it into the drainage. That's what causes the flooding. It is you who decides that of all places in Kampala, you are going to reside in a swamp and take use of it and use it, reclaim it for what it's not supposed to make. Now, if people forget that it's these individual small actions we make, whose collective sum is the mess that we find ourselves in today. And for some reason or other, we ignorantly do that, hoping that some alien is going to come and clean up our mess.
That is so true.
Someone, I saw a meme and I like it so much, says, what is the use of education if you're going to throw rubbish in the city for an uneducated person to clean after you? Michelle Obama even made it worse in terms of showing us the middle finger when she wrote in her book and said, power does not change a man. If anything, it exposes who he actually is.
An African proverb says, the higher a monkey climbs,
thank you very much,
the clearer his derriere is.
Exactly. Now, let us all not think that there is going to be an alien, something called leadership, that is going to come and clean our mess, because those who occupy positions of leadership come from the same material that we are made of. If we are all sorts of wrong things, those that emerge as our leaders are going to be those wrong things pro max. They cannot be different from us. So while you're pointing a finger at KCCA, for example, the 3 fingers are pointing back at you. If you're claiming that our city is so dark you cannot move around, but then I'm showing you clear images of stolen solar lamps, bulbs, and batteries, stolen not by Congolese, not by South Sudanese. They stormed Kampala and robbed our streetlights. No, we steal them ourselves. And then after selling and buying some data, then you come on Twitter to abuse the spokesperson of KCC. I mean, I find that a travesty. We still manhole covers. Tomorrow fall in them and start making cry and hue. I'm not saying you, Fiona Wall, as an individual. But what surprises me, even you, Fiona Wall, will see Kasiate steal a manhole cover. And
I will not report. And
you'll say nothing about it, because to do so is to be a snitch. Then for Kasiate to enforce that, he's being... for him, he doesn't know the pain of sleeping hungry. For him, this man has to steal this thing. He sells it so that his children can survive. And you want to show someone the middle finger. I'll give you an example of what's happening today. Fiona Wall, government has said every bus that operates within here in this country pay 2.4 million shillings a year as a tax. When you break that down, it comes to 200,000 shillings per month. If you break it further down to a month, and let's assume the bus works only for 20 days in a month of 30, we know they work even for 40 days in 30 days. It's government is asking for 10,000 per day as a bus. This bus is going to Barra. It has 60 passengers. We know they carry up to 80. But we are saying, okay, of the 60 passengers you carry, for argument's sake, you charge them 20,000. Nobody goes on credit in a bus. You must pay to earn yourself a seat. That would bring you to 1.2 million Uganda shillings per trip. We know they make more than one trip. So 2
trips enough.
Well, just 1 trip makes you 1.2 million. But we're asking for 10K.
No, I'm saying you're asking for 2 trips a year.
But we're just saying on that 1 trip, give over the 1.2 million you have.
Well,
and then someone comes and argues, no, that's an exorbitant sum of money for these bus guys. What do you know, they are ordinary people.
But with the risk of, well, I want to play devil's advocate and also speak from the other side.
Make that 2 devils, not even 1.
Yeah, two issues can come up. I think sometimes when citizens have issues, one, it's maybe they lack the information. But another time is maybe that they're doing this pushback because they feel that the little money they're already paying is probably not doing enough.
When did they ever pay the little they are paying willingly? You, Fiona Wall, if they were not cutting your 30% pay as you earn at source, would you voluntarily take it to the national
I would. I actually do my returns.
How many people like you in this
No,
time?
we need more. And that's why we're here. You see, that's why we're saying.
For everyone Fiona Wall, I can tell you 2,000 who are not like you. That's the nature of society that we are dealing with. Exactly. And that's what I was driving at. That the sooner as a people, we recognize the virtues of honesty and do your part. If each one of us did our part. Listen, I can't, because Simon has not fixed roads, I should therefore not pay my tax.
Yes.
No, pay your tax. Let Simon fail to fix the road on the basis of the tax you have paid him. Then have the wherewithal to hold him to account.
That's the problem, Simon, that in our states, on this continent, we've seen a lot of attempts at holding people to account that come to naught, again, because of the same... You see, what happens with corruption is that the hospitals will not have, what is it called?
Drugs.
The drugs, yet someone has actually disbursed money for the drugs. So the doctors that work in the hospitals will not be able to do anything for you in the hospitals. But they have private clinics because there's a private market that seems to have all the drugs that are lacking in the hospitals. So you find that people are now gearing towards, should I say, Juakali solutions, because the state apparatus that was established to serve them has been heavily compromised by the very same people. So this
when I see people
egg
here
and chicken case.
These people here always shouting themselves hoarse on X, on corrupt person, this corrupt activity, this.
Yeah.
There's one particular friend of mine who I will not mention. He's there always on Twitter,
and they're
posting
paying traffic. Yes.
But he has a relative, a close relative, that has been implicated in almost every corruption scandal here.
Really?
But this friend of mine has never called out their relative.
No, but what I'm saying, okay, now let's get back to practicalities. If this is the situation, does that mean we lose hope?
No.
How do people lift themselves out of
the
this?
same way you are honest enough to call Kasiatev to come here and speak for the honesty that you have known him for. The same way you should call him out to come back and you show him the middle finger when he begins to dip his hands in the cookie jar.
I think you need to stop using the finger.
Yes, but you need to call me here and tell me to my face and say, you are a pariah, you are a disgrace.
Yeah.
Don't only call us here to shower flowers.
We actually have, the reason we did this
and when people
is
begin
because
to realize,
we call, it's because our media, by the way, if you look at our media, if you look at our platforms all over, X and everywhere else, they are actually calling out people to show them the wrong things they're doing.
Absolutely.
And to make them account. So we thought, why don't we call the people who are doing the right things and
also
shine a light on that?
Fair
because
enough.
We feel that it's not enough. By the way, the more we've shone light on people who are doing wrong, the more we've glamorized them. I mean, I keep giving this example, and I hope people don't get tired or take offense. You remember how Uganda lined up to welcome the late mayor when he came back from jail, a convicted, and they were like, oh, at least he took dollars, They glorified him because of that. So we believe that we want to stop glorifying the wrong things. We all know what's happening. We all know what the attempts that are being made to do something about it. But we believe that this is an institutional issue that needs to be dealt with the way you deal with cancer. We need chemotherapy before we do an operation. And that chemotherapy has to be how can I say it? Thought change, transforming the mind.
You call it mindset change.
Yeah, mindset change, thank you. We have to look at our hearts and how we're dealing with issues. We have to look at how do we grow ethics from the grassroots, because we're dealing with miti ejichamye, the bent trees. No, seriously, because
someone once said Fiona,
this
it's
continent,
the disingenuity of our people.
50% of this
Every
continent.
meeting planning to plunder starts with a prayer and ends with another. Every meeting that is planning all sorts of mayhem. I mean, we lie to ourselves.
That's what I'm saying. That's why the trees are bent. So on a continent where, of course you do, over 50% of Africa is now under the age of 18. Now what that means is in the next few years, these are going to be the leaders. So one of the things we do at the Institute is we're going to schools and we're trying to start there, because these children are watching as their parents are throwing this bottle in the mwala.
Exactly.
But then we're also saying that if there is someone like Simon out there who wants to change, and I was a public servant for 15 years, and I was trying to do the right thing every day, but the temptations in the workplace are so high, in a place where people are glorifying illicit behavior, you get so lonely, you get alienated. In fact, you're called out for being
a stumbling block.
A roadblock. What someone called it? Someone called me a roadblock to progress, something like that. So that loneliness can drive you to doing the wrong things. So we have said we are going to create a critical mass of right thinking, similar thinking people that are going to grow their ethics. And if this person is working in KCCA and he needs a support system and he needs to be inspired, he will go to Fat Talks and find somebody who has actually made it. So we are selling hope. But I think also that we need to be very...
so you become snake oil merchants here. Well,
yeah, because you see, it's not exactly snake oil merchants. I believe that the media contributed greatly to the ethical dilemma that we're in right now, because they started shining the light on some of the wrong things. So if we start shining the light on the right things, it's desensitization, slow desensitization. So now we have to undo it. I feel that when you look at the bad news that's out there that's selling about marriage, for instance, you find every young person is cynical about marriage. And it's like there's no marriage that has ever worked. And yet we're surrounded by people being married 30, 40 years and they're in love. So what I'm saying is the picture, you are a public relations expert. What you show consistently becomes what people believe and what
Absolutely.
they buy. And that's what we need to sell. So it's not being a snake oil merchant per se. I think it is trying to be a panacea in our own little way. But my question to you, Simon, is on the African situation, and yes, we've brought it down to Uganda, we brought it down to Kampala City. If someone is out there and they're a leader and they want to make a difference, what would you say to them?
Right on. It's a choice that you have made, and if you're out there to show leadership in a place such as this that is in dire need of good leadership, it's a sacrifice that you must take, and you must take it with, with the whole feeling that your life depends on it. The challenge that I see in some of the leaders and leadership formulae that we see around is that most people expect that the change they are bringing on board must be enjoyed by them.
Yes, which is not
true necessarily, because you see the Wright brothers in putting together an aircraft never believed that they would possibly ride in the latest to see the latest Dreamliner, but they made a contribution in the body of knowledge that then leads to that.
Absolutely.
You see, when we're building infrastructure, and I bring it to our city engineers and I have conversations with them, when you're building and planning for roads in Kampala, don't plan for what you
see now,
what is going to meet your need of today. Think about the need of your child and what they will require the city for. We are dying of non-communicable diseases largely because of a largely sedentary lifestyle. You work seated, travel seated, eat seated, sleep seated. And yet the city provides an incredible need and a wonderful environment. I mean, look at how beautiful, serene Kololo is. I mean, we're a city set on undulating hills that give you both, up climbs and lowlands. If we had pedestrian lanes, cycling lanes, just parks under canopies of beautiful green trees, because we are a largely green country throughout the whole year, can we plan our infrastructure to meet that kind of serenity?
Yes.
Now, like I said, it's our individual actions that then make the collective sum of what we see today. Let people at the individual level who have chosen to do the right thing, lonely as you may have called them to be, but let them be intentional and say it's going to be a long, tedious, long journey.
And I may never live to see the result.
I may never live to see the journey, but take the journey, I will.
There's a proverb, somebody said that, I don't know who it was who said that it's leadership when you see old men plant trees whose shade they know they will never enjoy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you're telling us today that we have to, put in the work.
But we see what we see.
Expect immediate results.
But what we see today is people who come with all sorts of deficiencies from their formative years and trying so hard to play catch up. I see it with folks.
To feel their hunger.
Especially, and I'm sorry to say this, these characters you see who normally tell you, when I came to Kampala, now, when a guy starts saying, when I came to Kampala, then I begin to look at their
body. Is it because you're born in Kampala? Now some of us like me and my soga roots in Ginger.
Well, no offense really, but I find those characters who came to Kampala a little too greedy and playing a lot of catch-up.
But that generation is gone, thankfully, right?
Sadly not. They are the ones making decisions for you here.
No, what I mean is in the next 10 to 30 years,
the damage they are doing until the time they exit, we may never get out of it.
Yeah.
People who saw Blue Band at the age of 25, you have no idea how much catch-up they're going to do. I mean, they be, to them...
That's low, Simon.
But that's what it is. Someone tells you, I wore my first shoe at 17 when I was joining Senior 5. Actually, they're not even 17, they're 25.
So they're playing catch-up.
The level of catch-up they play, and you should see how they pamper their children and make them feel like.
But I do not think, I believe, and that's where.
And I'm sorry, I'm using a wide paint brush.
No, I understand. But I think that also, I want to just add something little to your combination there. I believe in what you're saying, but I think also upbringing matters, because you can grow up. I grew up in a home that didn't have everything, but I had a full mentality. You understand? When you got that the leg of the chicken, and you knew your mother loved you, your heart was full. So whatever you got, you were content. There is a hunger that some people have and that's why they keep stealing and taking and taking and taking, because there is a hunger in their soul that's not satisfiable.
Some of this malaise is beyond what they pick from their own homes. Because I will tell you what, I believe that every mother, wherever they are, in whatever circumstances, even those that have nothing, they always want their children to be something.
Yeah.
But it baffles me for people. Many of them, these characters you see who mess up this whole place, are brought up from families. You look back and look at Christian founded families, so to speak.
Yes, but what I'm saying is
virtues.
It's a character issue.
Yeah, but how...
Not a want issue per se.
Exactly. But how is that character formed? It cannot be as a result of upbringing. It possibly was something that they picked up, or socialization, say, since for 19 years of my life I never wore a shoe, now I must be ensuring that I have a shoe by the minute. And in that so doing, you disenfranchise so many people. But anyway, I'm not going to sit here and claim to have a magic bullet solution to Africa's problems, Fiona. I won't lie to you that I'm able to. I mean, I also come from the hangover of being told, I was class P1 1986, and we were told, you're the leaders of tomorrow.
You're the leaders of tomorrow, and you're still waiting.
I keep joking, and I wish I could meet, and I wish I could meet President Museveni.
You are already a leader.
He came to power.
You've just imposed a big tax on
I want to make a political statement.
Okay,
come on.
Please.
Isn't this the space where I can feel free to make a political statement? I hope one day President Museveni gets a chance to have a conversation with me. I will tell him that, look, you came to power when you are my age now. And everyone called you Muzei, and indeed deservedly so. Sadly, nobody even calls me uncle now.
No. I believe, and I think that's part of the problem, that a lot of Africans picture power as being in ultimate control of certain things. Either you're the president or in the government. But I believe each of us, whether middle management, small management, the gatekeeper.
No,
do you know how many gatekeepers keep people from meeting their destinies?
Fiona,
so I believe that
simply
we
said that earlier, but we're just using different words.
Yeah, we each have power.
If each one of us can do the right thing wherever we are,
yes,
it's the collective sum of this good
that brings
will bring
a lot
us
of influence.
Exactly.
Yes.
When I was coming here, you have no idea how I was mistreated by the security guard outside there. When I'm done with him, I'm going to remind him who runs this town.
Yes.
I'm kidding. But you see, you are right. Some people have 1 minute to deliver a
receptionist. Recently, I was at an office. I was at a lawyers' conference just this morning, and the Honourable Minister for Justice was saying that the Attorney General was complaining that somebody brought a letter, I think, to the Solicitor General's office, and it only reached the Attorney General after 3 days. They are 3 offices away from each other.
Exactly.
And it took 3 days for a letter to move from.
That required a solution that was needed on that very day.
That means there's a gatekeeper somewhere that is standing in the way of progress.
Thank you.
So I believe that each of us have to sort of do a check. How much power do I have and influence where I'm at now? And how much can I do with that?
Absolutely. And
to contribute to the solution.
There may be a temptation in the minds of those listening or watching us to assume that when we sit here and pontificate over these issues, then we are righteous,
no,
we have, and all that. I need to disappoint them that I am as crooked as they come. Every single day is a moment for me to
I'm not sure I want the
self-reflect.
police waiting for you out there. But
well, at least they must prove my culpability. As in, I have so much deficiency that sometimes bothers me to the core. But every single day, I get that moment of introspection and ask myself, what is it wrong that I can right? What is it right that I can make better? And then be self-aware and turn around, and if need be, to apologize. Apologize to those that you wrong. Apologize to yourself by way of determining to do better and changing the circumstances ahead of you. Fiona, it's not an easy thing just existing and living. Like I tell you, I worry about so much. And now as I grow older, I know for sure that I am growing closer to my demise. The question is, what will I then be remembered for?
Yes.
Well, at least I am glad. I've partly tried to answer that question by keeping in a bow tie, so that, when all has been said and done, many people will never remember what I tell them or whatever, but at least they will remember he wore a bow tie religiously whenever he had an opportunity to appear formal. So it's those small little things, but then you ask yourself, just a bow tie, is that what you want to be known for, Simon? Or that the kind of influence that people expect out of you, you want to just influence their fashion sense? Then you challenge yourself to more. Come on, I cannot just be known for this. I mean, Mahatma Gandhi was known not to dress up very seriously, but he left an indelible mark in terms of the liberation of his people in India. Lee Kuan Yew, same story. Do you want to be amongst those? Do you want to be like Michael Jackson, who lives behind a whole pop culture around them, and history books will certainly write about him till the end of time for the kind of contribution he made. But each one of us has a calling to which
we can contribute.
And yes, I have a motto with a certain dear friend of mine. She normally says, we have to celebrate the little wins. I find that very powerful, to celebrate the little win that you make, the little success that thy neighbor, thy friend registers. Because in recognition of the little leap forwards that we make, then you know that you have created a standing point or a launch pad to go even further.
And that's what Fat Talks is about.
Yes, but now we have in this country a phenomenon where the little wins that you make are in fact to the chagrin of those that should be around you cheering you up. And so we are saying, why should thy neighbor make a leap
They're waiting
forward?
on X to throw violence.
Absolutely. I know there's possibly hundreds and thousands of them waiting for the day Simon bows out of KCC, and they throw a party and say, oh, finally he's gone to the dogs. And I say, yes, I will go to the dogs and I will return leading the pack. I mean, that's the mentality that I have. Throw me to the dogs, I return.
That's a really excellent one. I hope we're quoting that.
Please do.
FLI, I think we're going to quote that. Throw me to the park.
To the dogs, and I will come back leading the park. Others replace the word dogs with wolves. My sister loves to use that. And so it's that to say, that resilience, Fiona, if each one of us had it, but also the truthfulness in self and being self-aware and know that this I can do, this I can't do, this will require me some help, this will require some motivation.
Yes. Lastly, as we close, and I want to thank you so much for this candor. As we close, what should we look out for in Simon? And we say this because we are all about intentional living, and we believe that the people we bring here have big dreams and big goals, and you've always been one of those people. So what should we look for? What should we bring you here for? Because we shall.
There's something I made in my MBA called Big Hairy Audacious Goals. Big Hairy Audacious Goals. I think it was BAG or something like that. BAG. Big Hairy Audacious Goals. Now, in the understanding of the big hairy audacious goals, these goals can be so scaring that if they are translated into dreams, they would be nightmares. Now, I have dreams and aspirations, Fiona,
that are big and hairy.
That are big, bold, and hairy, that would scare the hell out of you and I. And for what you would consider to be my strength in as far as dreaming that big and bold and hairy, audacious, dream, that could actually be my Achilles heel that then comes to stop me in my path of career growth and development. Please let's not forget that as you share your dreams and express them and work towards them, there are those to whom those dreams are a scare.
Yes.
And so, you know what it means. For example,
I know what you mean.
If I declare the presidential bid for this country now, you know what then would come my way.
I don't know whether we would be scared. We have serious contenders.
I do not want to make an experiment where I'm the specimen.
Yeah.
To say, let me try and see whether you'd be scared or not. But one thing is for sure, I told this to my first former employer as he was firing me out of the workstation. So you see, I've also been fired. We should have had that
story.
I've been
Next
fired.
time.
And I told the guy, I said, I want to thank you, as I was being laid out. I want to thank you for the opportunity of giving me this platform.
You were being let out.
I was being pushed out by security. One thing is for sure, you will never hear the last of me. He's still alive and he's still hearing me. And it was not a threat.
Oh my
God. It was a
and
determination.
He has not heard the last of you.
No. So likewise
can
to all of you.
Can we send him this link after this?
He possibly is watching, and I will wish him very well. He knows I have no ill feelings towards him. That's one of the best things that ever happened to me. To get fired when I was fired.
That's important,
from
right?
WBSTV.
When you don't know when to leave and someone makes it happen for you, sometimes we think it's the worst thing. But those are people we usually go back to and say thank you.
No. I'm forever grateful for having been fired when I was fired. Not like I'm admitting to any wrongdoing, but it opened my mind. Fiona Wall, you are a 20-year-old, 21, 22,
and you have
money. No, there was not a lot of money. I was earning 200,000.
But you had never looked for a job.
I was earning 200,000 with the needs that required $1 million, and I'd never seen $1 million shillings in one bundle. But listen, Fiona Wall, I had name and face recognition. Do you know what it means for a young person?
And you didn't know its value.
I mean, where you're walking and everybody's saying, Simon. If you are not grounded, if nothing grounds you, you will wallow in the cloud nine of expecting that you are such a big deal, when in fact you are not. That was the talking I told you about that my mother gave me. Said, don't think that because you have name and face recognition, you have arrived at the pinnacle of life.
Someone said your destiny does not lie in your comfort zone.
Thank you. So, likewise, I don't want to say there is a lot that comes my way that will certainly shock you, but what I can tell you without a fear of contradiction, Fiona Wall, is that I am not here because I'm the most brilliant guy in the room. I'm not here because I'm the most ambitious person in the room. I want to believe to a certain great extent I am here by the grace of God.
Absolutely.
And that
I couldn't have ended it better.
I'm lucky. I have been in places where I shouldn't have been, but I am there, and an opportunity finds me there.
And it's awesome that you're giving God that.
One of my best jobs was working with the European Union. Do you know where I picked that job from? I just showed up at a bar and had a conversation with the random Muzunga I found there over Ugandan coffee. Little did I know I was speaking to the ambassador of the European Union. Did you see how he's talking? And the next thing he says, I'm looking for someone who can help us with our communication at the EU delegation. You could know somebody.
That's awesome.
And I say, I
That's
know someone.
destiny.
Yes. So could that have been because I was brilliant? No. I was lucky. I happened to be at a bar counter.
But you also grabbed the opportunity. Someone else would have had imposter syndrome and said, I know someone who has a PR degree or something like that, journalism degree, you know?
I knew the guy so well. I said, I know him.
I know the guy.
I'm going to bring him on
the
Monday. And I showed up myself. So anyway, so I have goals. I have dreams.
Yes.
But I am also humble to accept the will of God to take its path in guiding me through.
So we shall be watching.
Don't just watch, Fiona. I think what I need more from you is that occasional word of encouragement, is that prayer inserted, where the Lord's Prayer, insert my name and say, God grant Simon his daily bread, deliver him from evil and temptation. That, I think.
But we are really glad, and I think everybody will be glad that you did not go to the seminary. Because I believe that if you had gone to the seminary, you'd be like some of my bosses who left the seminary.
No, possibly I would be the guy going to become ordained cardinal. You know, this country has one cardinal who is in his retirement, my good friend, Cardinal Amara.
Yeah.
So if I had gone to seminary, maybe now would be a monsignor, headed over to become a bishop.
Absolutely, but
an
there are some
archbishop
things you would not have experienced, like you exchanging words on X, or you being thrown out of
I could have
studios.
been I could have been the tweeting priest. I could have been the priest that maybe leads the much needed revolution.
I know.
In the canon laws.
Someone said we have like 9 different destinations that we could have gotten into. If we had 9 lives like a cat, maybe we'd get a chance to do all of them.
I miss the idea that I could have been forgiving sins now. I could be anointing the sick. I could be consecrating marriages.
You still can. You still can. Because if
in my faith,
if you get our KCCA clinics working, I think you might help a lot of the sick. If you get our sewage and drainage channels working,
absolutely.
I think you might help a lot of people and save a lot of lives.
You're very right. I agree.
So it's been fantastic hearing your story, looking at how powerful storytelling can be. I think you've seen he's an avid storyteller, Mr. Simon Kasiate. We are still watching his story because we believe it to be one of the ones that we have to look out for. And I love your messaging. You know, it was very clear today that we need grit. You need to have purpose. You need to have the follow through to actually do the work daily, not switch off. And you need to be honest with yourself. Keep learning, but keep humble. I think that was a very powerful learning.
I don't look quite humble in my outlook.
Those
who don't know me always say he's such an arrogant guy, such an whatever. But those who get to know me up close and personal.
I'll say that what I've known is the humility. I think it takes a lot of humility to...
Arrogance or this looking of seriousness is a smoke screen to a shy, humble guy that possibly cannot stand a lot of public glare and scrutiny.
You're showing your weak spot right now.
And I'm saying
guys are going to come.
It actually gets even weaker. Only that if you think you got me on that one, there's even worse. So
oh wow!
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm human.
So
Fiona.
This is a strong exterior with a mushy interior that has somehow done powerful things. We thank God for how far He has brought you from that little boy to the man you are now. We thank God for your parents. We honor them because I think your being here is great testimony to their upbringing, because I think they did the right programming. You know what I mean? These people who experience shoes at 25, I know some of them who have the right programming. So I think programming for your children is very important. But lastly, I believe that at the end of the day, we are all responsible for where we end up because of our choices. Wow. So today, what we are learning from Simon Kasiate on preserving Africa's institutional memory, much as we learn from the past, we need to invest in the future, and we need to also ensure that we keep going, the grit,
there's no
and we
reverse
keep
gear in this
straight,
thing.
the
Absolutely.
ethics, and we keep humble.
And if I know one, I would say, Fiona, is that, like you say, the power of storytelling. We must tell our story.
Tell our stories.
If you don't tell your story, someone else is going to tell that story.
Simon, you know, you used to, I met you in your great years of EU, of, you know, of you on Desert Island Discs, and you used to interview people and you would ask me very hard questions. And I'm so humbled that you've come here and shared your story, that you've allowed yourself to be vulnerable. Because you have a whole persona that everybody, you have a brand and you're a brand expert.
Now I think you're bordering on being very...
thank you. No, thank you so much for coming.
True.
No, thank you so much for coming and being vulnerable.
Thank you.
I think it's been worth it. I want to thank our Twitter listeners who've been around. You can put in comments. We'll share them with Simon after. We have been on YouTube. The link will remain open. On Fat Talks and Fidelis Leadership page, and also the SMART24 TV page. We want to thank SMART24 TV and Honorable Naveta for believing in the FAT vision and giving us this airtime. And in a very special way, we want to thank SCCA for lending you to us. I'm doing this just so you can justify the 1 hour you've been with us.
I've spent here when there should be somewhere at the bus park solving an investment.
But I think I like how you're explaining the bus park fee. I was working for National Water, and we used to tell people that a unit of water, which is 50 liters, is about
20 shillings at that time.
Is about 20 shillings at the a unit of water is now about maybe 5,000 shillings, and this mineral water bottle is about 3,000 shillings, right? Mm-hmm. So you've taken about 25 jerry cans today.
Wow.
So when you explain it like that, people, so maybe I like the way you're breaking it down. I hope we shall see the authority breaking down things more like this and preaching ethics the way you've been preaching it. But I also hope that we shall see more transformations in our public institutions, because everybody, as Simon has said, will be contributing what they can. We'll remember that in the little actions is where we find the cause or the root of the big problems. Yeah.
True.
So thank you very much. It's been Fiona Wall for the Fidelis Leadership Institute. Having a big fat talk, faithful, available, teachable, with Simon Kasiate, the communications director, corporate communications director, KCCA, and we've been talking about the power of storytelling and how to preserve Africa's institutional memory. We've talked about ethics, we've talked about grit, we've talked about humility, and we've talked about investing in knowledge. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic weekend.
Wow.
SMART24, driving business.
This is Jordan. When it comes to classwork, Jordan is magic. Jordan shines. Jordan makes his peers better. Jordan is a true leader. White Star Magic family. Be a leader. Be magic.
Say goodbye to paperwork and travel costs.